Hey, do you ever feel like you're just drifting in life? That you're being reactive rather than proactive and intentional? Or maybe you even feel like you're just working on someone else's goals rather than your own. If so, then, well, let's do something about it. In this video, I want to share with you my weekly planning ritual that I've been using for years now. And it's really simple, it's really easy, it's really effective, and it's actually quite therapeutic. Hey, this is Tomas from okitsnotenough.com, helping you become the best version of yourself and create a more exciting and more fulfilling life. And it's really hard to do that if you're not planning for it. If you don't have some kind of system that will keep you in track and making sure that you making the most out of your time and that you're always making progress in the right direction. This weekly planning ritual that I will share with you now has been a cornerstone to my personal and professional development. It's so important to me that I'm actually tracking it as one of my big goals for this year, to make sure that I stick to it and I do it every single week. Now, this process or this ritual may take 5 minutes, or you can immerse yourself in it easily for an hour. It's entirely up to you depending on how many goals you have. So I will now take you through the planning process that I broke down into 6 easy to follow steps. But before we go into that, there's one more step. And it's really important that you always make your planning session an enjoyable experience. If you want to make this habit stick, it needs to be a little bit fun, or at least enjoyable. And so it's not just about how you do it, but also where you do it and when. So think about what would be the best day and time for your regular weekly planning. Can be morning, can be afternoon, can be evening, and can be any day of the week. I personally love to do this on Sunday afternoon, and I've been doing it on Sundays for maybe 7 or 8 years now. And it really became part of my Sundays. It's this little ritual that I'm always looking forward to. And then think about the ideal place for your planning session. First of all, it should be somewhere where no one will disturb you. It should feel comfortable, and it should allow you to get into the right mindset. Hey, it can be a cafe, it can be a park, it can be your living room. That's totally fine, wherever you feel comfortable and where you won't be disturbed. So when you found the perfect environment, we can start with the actual planning process. And the first step is to start with gratitude, because it's great that your environment feels right, but your head needs to be in the right headspace. And gratitude is a fantastic way to do that, because our mind can easily be restricted by stress and worries and all that life stuff that happens. So we always need to make sure that we tune in to a sort of a positive note, and gratitude is a fantastic way to do that. So I always start my planning session by answering these 5 questions. The first one is, what am I happy about in my life right now and why? The second question is, what am I grateful for in my life right now and why? Third question, what am I excited about in my life right now and why? Fourth question, what am I passionate about in my life right now and why? And the fifth question is, what am I committed to in my life right now and why? Your answers to these questions can be as short or as long as you want. Typically, one line is perfectly fine. Now notice that every question is ending with "and why?" And it's so important that you explain why you are grateful for this or happy for that, because giving that explanation, it massively amplifies the actual impact or effect of your answers. And just to show you what difference it can make when you actually explain why you are grateful for something or happy about something, imagine that my answer would be, I'm grateful for my health. Hey, that's okay, but you can feel it probably doesn't have a massive impact. Whereas if you answer, I'm grateful for my health because it's not restricting me from doing what I want. It allows me to play golf every time I want. It allows me to play with my children every time they want me to play with them. It allows me to look after my parents. That's why I'm grateful for my health. I hope that you feel that it has slightly or actually massively different impact. Starting the weekly planning process with these gratitude questions is so important because it opens your mind to new possibilities and think much more positively and abundantly. The next step, step number 2, is reflection. I generally encourage people to be forward thinking because being stuck in the past, it really prevents you from growing and becoming better. However, it can be extremely useful to every now and then just glance back because our history offers so much opportunity for learning from our successes and failures. This is why you should always include a little reflection in your weekly planning ritual. And this is how you can do it. Think about the past week and write down answers to these questions. What has gone well last week and why? And focus on what role you played in it. What hasn't gone so well last week and why? Again, focus on what role you played in it. What did last week try to teach me? And the last question is, how can I apply what I've learned from the previous questions in the coming week? You see, last week offers an excellent opportunity to learn and improve. Your last week offers an excellent opportunity to learn and improve. And these questions will help you become more self-aware and identify what you're actually doing right. So you can replicate that, you can do more of it, or where you're messing up. And that's great as well to know, because when you know that, you can actually stop that or prevent that from happening again. Step number 3, I call identifying the big ones. You know, with planning, it's so easy to get carried away and start writing a long to-do list with all the things that we would want to do. But that can very quickly become chaotic and overwhelming. So to prevent that from happening, first, identify the key areas, the key big areas of your life that need some love and attention that you would like to work on. Just to give you a few ideas, it can be areas like friendship, relationships, family, money, confidence, work, promotion, and things like that. Now, if too many of these areas or ideas come to mind, you can write them all down, but I suggest that you narrow it down to maybe 3 to maximum 5 that you would focus on. Because if you try to work on too many areas or too many goals simultaneously, it can quickly become quite overwhelming. Keep in mind that what makes working on yourself really exciting is the progress itself. So if you start working on too many areas at the same time, you will spread yourself too thin. You'll be dividing your time, energy, attention into too many areas. And so the progress that you'll be making will be probably just tiny in every single one of these areas. Whereas if you focus your attention and energy and time into those, let's say, 3 areas, you'll be making progress much faster, and it's generally so much more fun and so much more encouraging. Now, step number 4, task planning. And this is really the meat of your weekly planning session, because now when you have the key areas of your life that you want to work on identified, it's time to set the actual tasks or identify the actual progress you want to make in these areas this week. So look at the first area that you want to work on and ask yourself this question. What can I do this week that would make a real positive difference to this area of my life? Or what can I do that would make a significant progress in this area of my life? Hopefully you will identify a few good actions that you can take this week that would make a good positive progress at that would have a great impact on this area of your life. Now, do the same for the remaining areas that you identified in the previous step. Now, don't get carried away and set unrealistic list of goals and tasks. It needs to be manageable. Just look at all the tasks that you set and ask yourself, can I actually get this done? If the answer is yes, then great, you're good to go. If the answer is no, or if you're even hesitant whether it's physically possible, then look at the list and identify the key ones that would yield the best ROI, return on your investment of your time and energy and so on. And trim the list down to the most important tasks. You can leave the other ones there as well in case you actually end up working or making really fast progress, so you can have some extra tasks. But you want to start with the ones that would have the biggest impact. It's just important that you don't set yourself up for failure right from the get-go, because hey, that would be so demotivating. Step number 5 is schedule it. Now, I'll leave it up to you how far you want to take this step, but in general, if you want to make sure that something gets done, put it on your calendar, schedule it. If you like to keep a little bit of flexibility like I do, what you can do, you can just allocate the tasks for specific days of the week. You don't have to necessarily log them for a specific time in your calendar. This gives you a little bit of flexibility about when you do it during the day, but it will also give you a good idea whether the amount of work that you set for yourself is actually doable, if it's realistic. With that said, if you actually struggle with procrastination, I encourage you to be as specific as you can. I would even put those goals in your calendar, because the more it's locked in, the more committed you are to it. And it gives you less room for negotiation with yourself and procrastinate and leaving it up to when you feel like it. So I always encourage people to experiment with that, but if you're prone to procrastination, if you're struggling a little bit with self-discipline, then the more specifically you commit, the better for you. Now, this is the part of the planning. It's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward, and it's the purpose of it, because I've tried all kinds of methods, and when it becomes overwhelming and too complicated, we tend to not do it. This is why I keep it simple. However, there is one more step. Step number 6, committing to it. It's really nice to wrap up your weekly planning session by just sitting back, looking at your plan that you cut out for yourself for next week, taking a deep breath, taking a moment and letting it sink in, and pay attention to how you feel. You'll probably feel more content, more hopeful, more determined, more encouraged, and maybe even more excited. At least I always feel all these emotions. You know, one of the main reasons why people experience stress, anxiety, or even depression is because there is a great deal of uncertainty in their lives, and things probably feel out of control. So when you take a moment and actually sit down and plan your next week or next month, it often creates a great sense of control and comfort. For me, and hopefully for you now as well, this is always extremely therapeutic. And the final thing to do is to take a deep breath, put on your determined face and say something like, I'm going to make this happen no matter what. Or I'm going to make this happen, it's going to be awesome. Or I'm going to make this happen and nothing is going to stop me. You can say it out loud, or you can just say it in your mind, or you can write it at the bottom of your plan. But it's super important and actually quite powerful when you verbalize your commitment to your plan. Well, there you go. This is my weekly planning ritual that I've been using for years now, and it's been working miracles for me, really. And now it's your turn to make it happen. But before you go, hey, don't forget to subscribe by pressing that little button. Leave me a comment if you have any questions. And as always, thank you for watching. I appreciate your attention, and I'll see you again on the next video.